All right, we all saw how crazy Black Friday was this year, and I know I'm not the only one out there who was tempted by a sub $300 Palmetto State Armory Dagger pistol. I've got a few choice upgrade ideas, whether you need some gifts planned or just want to give mostly to yourself this Christmas. Hey, I'm Travis, the product guy at at3tactical.com. Basically, when we bring stuff onto the site, I'm the guy making sure it's going to be quality, affordable, cool, or a mix of all three. We want to sell stuff that excites us, things we actually use, not a bunch of crap. So, I'll preface this by saying a lot of this stuff isn't terribly new or groundbreaking for folks who know the Glock 19 upgrade market. The PSA Dagger is based on a Generation 3 Glock pistol, which has a huge aftermarket of parts and broader upgrades, especially now that the Gen 3 patents have expired. So you have plenty of options to turn a budget blaster into an absolute beast. As always, we're hitting on the most important 5 F's when it comes to today's gun gear: fit, feel, form, function, and features. And I'm gonna try and get through it in about 5 minutes. Let's roll. Now let's talk about the thing that's going to make the biggest difference in how you shoot your dagger: with an optic. And because I just had one lying around, I'm topping this $300 pistol with a $500 and something Trijicon RMR Type 2. Fit. Always important when you're talking optics-ready pistols. The RMR predictably uses the RMR pattern. All you want to really do when you're mounting this is use a little bit of blue Loctite, torque down to 15 inch-pounds at max, and this sucker should be secure until you need to change the battery a year or two down the line. Side note, if you've got a doctor cut dagger slide, the RMR won't work, but the AT3 Arrow will, as well as Burst Fastfire and the Vortex Venom. The RMR feels very much like the de facto standard for the handgun optic world. It's solidly built, has a reasonable heft, and responsive but not overly setting brightness adjustment buttons on the sides. The windage and elevation can be adjusted with a small flathead screwdriver with responsive 1 MOA clicks. Everything you might need to do with this pistol is easy, and it doesn't feel like you're going to break it, which, if you're going to be carrying, is a nice peace of mind thing. There's some anodized FDE shades, and they always have this scoop with thicker corners on the top side of your glass. Trijicon alleges is to keep the lens from cracking if you drop it accidentally, which makes a good bit of sense. Same idea with phone cases these days. And you've also got some drainage holes on the sides so you don't end up waterlogging your emitter. Smart, straightforward design choices all around. Function, solid performance all around. As long as you do your job properly mounting the RMR, it's a huge booster in terms of accuracy and speed. You can also get the dot as bright as you need. Right now in Minnesota, we've got some snow on the ground, which produces a lot of reflection and glare. But the RMR has the power to cut through those bright conditions. It works, holds zero, and has a battery life you can measure in years thanks to the automatic brightness setting. The 3.25 MOA dot on this model works perfectly for me, but if you want an ultra-fine 1 MOA or a larger 6 MOA, you have those options. But for my part, this is the version to go with. This is the benchmark for pistol red dots for a reason, even with what some would call shortcomings. One of the first things I noticed was the prominent blue tint in the glass, as well as some distortion around the edges, but these factors really don't matter when you're pressing out and shooting with both eyes open. Something to bear in mind for folks who are new to pistol optics in general. So, for the price tag, yes, this is a great option, but if you're looking for something maybe less expensive, maybe more suited to the dagger's price point, I'd personally recommend a Holosun 507C with the RMR pattern and the AT3 Arrow for doctor pattern dagger slides. Well, here comes old reliable. If you need a great weapon light at the right price, you look no further than the Streamlight TLR-1 HL. Sure, you could put a $350 X300 on here from Surefire, but I'm starting to strain credulity with the red dot alone. Fit. As you might imagine, there's not any real issues with installing this weapon light on your PSA Dagger frame. The TLR-1 comes with a variety of spacers that key into the frame, specifically made for Glock or 1913 standard rail, among others. I ended up using the Glock pattern spacer because the 1913 was a little too snug for the slot in my frame. Your results may vary. After that, it's just cinching down this big thumb screw and turning on the light once you get the batteries in. Feel. For me, I'll admit to a little bit of bias on this product because I've been using one for years on my CZ P10C. I'm really used to this light and I've always found it really intuitive and easy to use. When I present my pistol, I'm going with a thumbs forward grip, which puts my support hand in perfect position to nudge the paddle down and activate the light in momentary mode. If for some reason you want it constant on, it's easy enough to come from the bottom and just flick it up. And even though this is regarded as a budget-friendly light, the paddles are polymer, This doesn't feel cheap, and trust me, I've tried a few Amazon lights that wouldn't be even suitable for airsoft. So, not much art to the design of this thing. It has to hold two 1238 batteries, it has to have a 1000 lumen emitter, and you've got to be able to turn it on with your thumbs. It's a brick that throws light out. That being said, I've never had an issue with a comfort factor on a TLR-1. It all works, no sharp edges, and as long as you don't burn yourself in that hot front lens after using it, you'll probably be just fine. Also, you do have a few different color options: black, flat dark earth, and a deeper brown. If you're going for a particular look in your Dagger frame, these different shades are going to give you the most in terms of aesthetic options. Function. So, the TLR-1 has that sweet 1000 lumen output with 20,000 candela and a 90-minute runtime on 2 fresh batteries. That battery life is more than enough when it comes to regular training, everyday use. You're only going to have the light active for a few seconds at a time, and the output you get from this thing is absolutely impressive. Streamlight says this thing can throw a beam around 300 yards away, and while I don't think you'll be engaging a 300-yard target at night with a handgun, it's a pretty impressive metric. The TLR-1 HL has a great reputation for good reason. For most folks, it's going to be rugged and durable enough for your use case, even for guys who need a light for duty. People often bring up boring reliability as a selling point for guns, and I'd say that the TLR-1 has never surprised me. Thousands of rounds, no stutters, random shutoffs, just consistent performance up to my expectations. Inching ever forward, we're taking a look at this Zaffiri Precision. Well, they call it the Blowhole. It's a pistol compensator. Let's go. The Blowhole fits on your standard threaded Dagger pistol barrel, along with pretty much any aftermarket 9mm Glock compatible barrel with 1/2x28 threads. Installation is pretty simple. Thread the comp down on your barrel until it's aligned with your slide, and then tighten these small set screws at the bottom to ensure a good fit. Now, when I was installing mine, I found these threads to be extremely tight getting them onto the barrel. After some unfounded fretting about cross-threading, it was easy enough to align the comp with the slide and tighten up the set screws. These 2 screws are pretty small and use high-strength thread locker, so just be careful and allow some time for the thread locker to cure. Feel. I love the feel out of this package because of the weight. Zaffiri makes these out of 17-4 stainless steel. Many pistol comps like this are aluminum, which is not a bad thing, but the weight that you get with a steel compensator means that the gun will shoot flatter once you get it to the range. And that's immediately exciting for me, simply because I know that lighter comps will really only start showing what they can do when they're using hotter ammo. With this, that extra ounce or so translates to better performance with practice rounds. To a certain point, we'll talk about that in a minute. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. In terms of aesthetics, with a PSA Dagger slide, maybe not the best fit. Zaffiri definitely has their own look, and they craft barrels, slides, and these comps to flow together seamlessly with their other designs. Fair play there. But the comp itself has a great fit and finish, plus you get a variety of options with this color scheme. But the comp itself has a great fit and finish. Plus, you've got a variety of options in terms of function. As mentioned, the performance gains you see with the Zaffiri Blowhole compensator are immediate, thanks in parts to the extra weight and steel construction. And with hot ammunition, your plus P stuff, this compensator really does a great job in driving the muzzle down, keeping you on target for follow-up shots. However, do consider that this weight does have a cost. With lighter loads, especially your 115 grain ball ammo, you may run into issues with cycling. One of 2 fixes for this. You can go out and swap your recoil spring and guide rod to compensate, but I'd personally recommend stepping up to NATO spec 124 grain loads for practice. That just makes more sense to me. Features. The Zaffiri compensator kinda does it all for me. I've tried comps on pistols before, but I think this is the one I'm going to keep. There's nothing super complicated here. Easy to install, it does its job, and there's nothing super special or proprietary about it. And because this pistol is so inexpensive, it's the kind of upgrade that I'm planning to keep as is and never really have to worry about changing for my mission. If I want a non-threaded barrel or want to get a suppressor, I'll just buy a different Dagger slide. But the comp, she can stay. Right now is a really cool time to get into handguns, thanks in part to the PSA Dagger. And as always, if there's an AR or pistol upgrade you want me to go hands-on with, drop a comment down below. I'll give you my honest take on it in a future video.